So we've got a new episode of WandaVision. This is episode 4, and this episode is called We Interrupt This Program. Now, if you have not seen this episode yet and you don't want to get anything spoiled for you, do not watch this review, because this review is going to contain full spoilers for the episode, so you've been warned. So the cool thing about this episode is it starts off and we see Monica Rambeau waking up inside of a hospital room. The cool thing about that is originally I thought she was waking up after being thrown out of Westview and her just kind of coming out. But no, it's actually her coming back from being dusted, and I thought the effect of seeing all these people in a hospital running around panicking because everyone's coming back to life, and the way they did it rather than in Far From Home, from memory, they just kind of plopped into where they left. But in the start of WandaVision, this episode, they dusted back into the way they were. I thought that was just a fantastic way. It makes more sense than people literally just popping into wherever they left off. And I loved seeing the madness of what it was, because in Far From Home they kind of made it out as a kind of a jokey scenario at the start, but this one they showed like how realistic it is. The fact that the hospitals are packed now. Even one of my first thoughts when this happens, actually, you do see it at the end of Infinity War, but you see the helicopter crashing. But imagine if on a plane everyone else was fine on the plane, but two pilots dusted. And those two scenarios I think are insane. Or even looking at now, if someone was on a plane, they dusted, and then they came back, they're dead, because they would have been in the flight, or they would have been up in the air. There's nothing there now, so they just dropped to the ground. Just scenarios like that. So seeing something like that play out in the hospital, I thought was quite fun and interesting to see. As well, we do get some more information about Monica Rambeau's mother. We know that she's now dead. I didn't know how they were going to play that out, just because it takes place in the 90s, and I imagine Captain Marvel 2 is going to take place in our modern times. As far as I know, Monica Rambeau will be in Captain Marvel 2, so I was wondering, is her mother going to come back? Are they going to recast? Are they going to put makeup on her? But no, they decide to just kill her, which does make sense. Another thing I thought was quite interesting is the fact that Sword has actually been around for a while. I kind of was under the impression that Sword was made after Far From Home, but no, Sword was made even before Infinity War. They kind of let it on that it's been growing ever since the 90s, when Carol Danvers had left Monica Rambeau's mother. It seems like her mother started to build Sword. I don't know how it was never mentioned. I kind of wonder. I don't know, but I get the impression it has been around for years and it's just always been there. So it's been quite interesting to see that as well. We also know that Monica Rambeau never actually decided to go in there. I was under the impression, again, they put Monica into Westview as just kind of put someone in there to kind of get an idea of what was happening in there, but no, she actually got sucked in there. So I kind of thought that was quite interesting, the fact that it was actually never her choice to go in there. She did just get dragged in there. And this kind of episode as a whole, we kind of get, it just kind of fills in the gaps of what was, we were getting those little Easter eggs in episode 1 to 3. Like we get Asian Jim, I can't remember the guy's name. Randall Park is the actor, but we hear him on the radio in episode 2. We see how that scenario plays out in this episode. We see the way of them kind of being able to see what happens in this is they actually get TVs. Like they're putting satellites in the little helicopter. One that picked up in episode 2, I want to say, was actually a drone. I kind of thought it was a Sword, like actual helicopter, and then once it went in there it shrunk, but no, it actually was a drone. We see the beekeeper going through all of it. We just kind of see, just kind of fills out those gaps of what was happening on their side of things compared to what was happening on Wanda's side of things. But the biggest takeaway I thought from this episode was the kind of final bit. Actually, while I'm on the topic of happening outside of Wanda's world, we do see Darcy come back. This is our first time seeing her since Thor 2. She hasn't really changed. I'm not really a massive fan of her. I've actually reviewed the first 2 Thor movies, and one of my biggest takeaways of rewatching those movies was that I find her really irritating. The first one not as bad, but in the second one she is really, really irritating. In this movie, in this episode, she works better, because in the Thor movies I found she was more of comic relief for that group, because you had Jane Foster and Eric Selvig, and they were more serious, so you kind of had to have her as a comedic character. But now that she's by herself, she's still got her comedy aspect to her, but she is more serious. So I liked her a bit more in this episode. Let's kind of hope she stays that way moving forward within the rest of the series, and if we do see her in any more future MCU projects. But at the end of the episode, we kind of get to see how Wanda kicks Monica Rambeau out. Quite actually interesting. This is the first time within this series we've actually seen her use her full powers. She uses the red, whatever it is, throws her out, literally throws her through buildings and kicks her out, and it repairs the wall. I thought that was quite cool because we haven't seen her use their powers yet. And I was only, I think I kind of knew she was kind of all around this, but I was also thinking, does she fully not know? Does someone has someone put her in this scenario and she's just kind of accepting it? But no, she 100% knows what has happened now. Actually, one other thing, this takes place 3 weeks after Infinity or after Endgame. I was wondering because I think Far From Home I think takes place about 6-7 months after Endgame, but this takes place 3 weeks after. So this is literally one that probably after Tony Stark's funeral, she probably just snapped. We'll probably see something like that, but she must have just snapped 3 weeks after Endgame. So I'm quite interested to see how all that happened to her. But we do get some of actually Wanda and Vision in this episode. Not a lot, but what we get I think is fantastic and really makes me wonder so much. But we do get to see the scene at the end of episode 3 where Vision comes in. He goes, Wanda, what happened there? But we do see Vision. Vision doesn't look like Vision. Vision looks like he did after Thanos ripped the stone out of his head. His face is all white. There's no eyeball. His eyeballs are there, but his pupils, everything are on. The big chunk is taken out of his head. And now I'm thinking that that is Vision, but that's just Vision's corpse, and Wanda is like treating him like a puppet, moving him around. I'm imagining that's why he's like. I think so. She would have because I remember. Not John Favreau, Kevin Feige said recently that originally for Endgame there was going to be a post-credit scene of Wanda messing with Vision's body, and the fact that they never did that, I think we're going to see that in this show. But I think that she is literally treating him like a puppet, and that it's just his dead body and she's treating that like a puppet. I'm also thinking that the rest of the people within this town, we know that they actually are real people. They're not just kind of made up fictional people, because we do find out that we actually know everyone's real name. We get their licenses, we see the pictures, they're kind of finding out who they are, comparing it. The only one that we didn't actually see is Kathryn Newton's character, who kind of lets it more on the fact that she is bigger than just some random character. I imagine she is the big bad of the series. I've been kind of thinking that since the first trailer, like most people are thinking that she is the big bad of this series. But one thing that I kind of thought of with this episode, the fact that they say in the episode that there is radiation coming from this area, and the fact that it's not lethal for them yet. But what I'm thinking is it not lethal for them, but could the people in the town all be dead as well? Because we don't really see the people inside the town really having much of a personality. They're all just kind of, a lot of them are just there, and again that could be because they're background characters. But what happens if the radiation has killed all of these people as well, and then Wanda is treating all of them like a puppet too, just to have it moving towns? The only people who are actually really alive are Wanda and Kathryn Newton's character. I'm not really sure if that's it. That's just something I kind of thought of when they said radiation. I wouldn't be surprised if that was it. I think that'd be kind of cool if that was it. It'd be really dark and really make Wanda out as the villain, which it really is setting up Wanda as a villain for this. I imagine 100% this is how they're going to bring mutants into this world. I would not be surprised if that's how they bring mutants into this world by the end of the series. I'm assuming we're going to get Quicksilver. I'd be surprised if Quicksilver did not show up in this series whatsoever, because I feel like they are setting up for a Quicksilver return. He gets mentioned in episode 3. You get even kind of a sort of a mention again of him when they bring up Ultron again in this episode. So I really do think that we will see Quicksilver appear. We didn't actually get an ad in this episode because we focused more on the actual people outside the world, but again, that's just my theory on all the radiation idea. I do think that's going to show up. I am really excited for episode 5, which I think there's 9 episodes in total. Originally it was 6. I don't know how they wrapped all this up in 6 episodes, but it is 9 episodes, so we do have a good bit more. I think it's going to end in March, I'd say. Yeah, it have to end in March. Really excited to see how it ends, because I am just so intrigued. As I said, episode 1 and 2, wasn't really a massive fan of them. Episode 1 in particular, I really didn't like episode 1. Episode 3 I thought set up a lot. Episode 4, what it did was give me so many answers that I've had from the first 3 episodes, but it's just given me so many more questions, and it's just really exciting. Even as I was driving home today, I was thinking, oh yes, I get to go home and watch WandaVision, and it's great that I can do that. So next Friday I'm driving home, like, oh yes, I get to watch WandaVision today, and it's just one of those shows that I'm so excited to come home and watch. So I'm really excited to see episode 5 next Friday. But that is my opinion on episode 4. Let me know your thoughts on episode 4 in the comment section down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Is your favorite of the season? Personally, I think episode 3 is probably my favorite. I think I had the most fun with episode 3, but episode 4 is just right underneath it as my second favorite episode of the season. Really excited to see what happens at episode 5. That's going to be the 80s. I don't know how it's going to play out. Are Wanda's kids going to be babies, and then by the end of it, they're going to be toddlers? Who knows, but really excited to see how all that plays out. But if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 5 next week, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can come back and watch my thoughts and review on episode 5 next Friday. And as always, thanks for watching.